Hi there, this is Rob from Auburn Amps, and as you probably know, we build tube amplifiers for musical instruments and for listening, but we don't just clone old designs. We take sort of an engineering approach to make tube amps that are more compact, more reliable, have less hum and noise, and are more versatile than traditional tube amplifiers. Now, sometimes you get into a situation as a player where compact isn't compact enough. You get to a stage or a playing situation where they just don't want amps around at all. It could be like a pit orchestra situation. Let's say you're doing Cirque du Soleil or something, or you're a cruise ship performer, or you've got a church gig, or it's some situation, or the producer just wants a clean stage, and they don't want amps on this stage. And so they say, well, we're going to have to take you direct. Well, that never works, does it? Especially for guitarists, to come off your pedal board and go into the PA, you never end up with a satisfying sound coming back off your monitor or in your IEMs. And without that satisfaction that you're making a good tone, it takes a lot out of your enthusiasm for playing, which then affects your ability to play. The quality of your playing is affected, of course, by the sound you're getting back, which is the idea behind making good tube amplifiers. We want to make musicians hear themselves at their very best, so they're enthused about playing. But because of those situations where an amp is just not allowed, my partner Ryan Ritter, who's a mechanical engineer, and I, who's more of a circuits guy, got together and came up with something that really solves that problem, we think. It was super cool. We've been working on it for a long time. We're really proud of the results. What we wanted to do was come up with a tube DI, and these things do exist, but we wanted to take the entire architecture of a tube musical instrument amplifier and put it in the DI so that it felt and played like an amplifier, but it wasn't a box with a speaker in it. It was something that could just sit on the stage alongside a pedal board or all by itself with a low profile that would be satisfactory in those awkward playing situations, but still give you the sound you wanted coming back to your monitors or in your IEMs that gave you the satisfaction of playing. This is it. This is going to be a crude handheld camera work. Please forgive that, and please forgive the autofocus on my old Olympus camera. But here goes. This is, ta-da, the Solitaire. We call it the Solitaire because it is essentially a 1-watt tube amplifier in the form of a DI. And as you can see, it's got the standard controls you expect on an amp. It's a drive control, volume control, treble, middle, bass. And we've made the tone stack switchable, so there are actually 9 possible positions for altering the tone stack to mimic various existing amplifiers or to come up with something on your own that you like. It's not done with DSP, it's not digital. This amp is entirely analog. Everything about it is analog. Even the high voltage generation for the tube plates is done in the analog domain, and even the latches for the gain boost and EQ bypass functions, which are foot switchable, by the way, that's all done using discrete components. So we've kept a very organic approach to the circuit design in coming up with an extremely compact tube DI that will hopefully solve that problem for musicians who just hate it when someone tells them they have to go direct and they can't have an amp on stage. The control panel is sloped, of course, so that it's easy to operate from tabletop or on the floor, and a single instrument input, power indication, and as you see here, we've put the nomenclature. It's laser engraved. All the nomenclature is laser engraved. We like laser because it never wears off, and it stays visible under all lighting conditions. It's an aluminum chassis, 2 millimeter thick, so excellent for heat dissipation. And yeah, there's the nomenclature in the back, so you can see that from the top. It's also engraved on the back, where you have power switch. There's a built-in load. You can switch that between resistive and reactive, so you don't need to run this into a speaker load. It will behave like it's going into a speaker load when you're using the reactive load. The XLR for the DI output is switchable between line and mic level. There's a headphone output. There are separate ground lifts for the 1/4 inch TRS and XLR balanced outputs. The foot switch is for the EQ bypass and the gain boost. And then there's a breakout point after the first preamp stage that you can use for an effects loop or an expression pedal, or if you just want to use use it as a line input. If you're running keyboards into this, you can do that as well. Let's see, just quickly, under this Mongol cover, there are 3 tubes. And if you don't want to use the quick release screws that I'm undoing here, you don't have to. We also ship these units with some button cap screws, socket head button cap screws. It gives you a lower profile, but this gives you access to the tubes, and we give you a tube puller, of course, because they're you can grip them by hand, but the tube puller makes it a little bit easier, especially if they're hot, as you have a preamp, phase inverter, and a split triode push-pull output stage. Now, part of the key to getting great sound out of this was not using off-the-shelf transformers. We couldn't find anything off-the-shelf that really cut it. And I know there are a lot of 1-watt tube mini amps out there now, but unless these people are making their own transformers and doing it very, very carefully, like we've done, you're not going to get a big amp sound from it, but you will with this. And this is not just for guitar. We have 3 different output transformer options, and one of them goes way down in the basement for very, very clean bass. One is more like a classic guitar amp tone, and then there's one that's more versatile for any kind of instrument, steel guitar, mandolin, fiddle, anything like that. Or bass will work through our universal output transformer as well. The sides, you can choose the species of wood on the sides. These ones are unfinished because we just put this together for this video, but you can order any finish you want for the wood sides. It's not just cosmetic, it provides some elevation for the natural convection. Yeah, I should mention that too. There's no fan. The tubes receive their fresh air through these vents at the bottom, and it comes straight up through the chassis and out through the grill on the top. It's dark painted aluminum or aluminium, if you like, and so that there's cooling by radiation as well as by convection. So the tubes stay nice and cool and they last long. You can order your Solitaire with any type of tubes you like. We have 5 different options for the preamp and phase inverter tube. So you tell us what instruments you play, what genres you play, and we will help you choose the right tubes for those to get the gain structure that works for you. There are jumpers inside, so you can change tube types yourself if you want to do tube swaps and tube rolling. So it's you can tweak it, you can play with it in that respect. But the main idea is that this is something professionals can use in a variety of settings. You can use it for recording, of course. You can use it for home practice. It will feed a speaker. 1 watt is a decent level for home practice. That's a satisfying thing to do. Connect an efficient speaker up to it and just play along with it as an amplifier, or use the headphone output. So practice, recording, stage. It's a very versatile unit, and like everything we do here, the Solitaire is handmade. We could just have these things stuffed by machine, but we don't believe in that. We believe it's important for the quality standpoint to have things done by hand, and to inspect components by hand, and to make all the measurements and tests by hand. And we also believe that it infuses something of the designer, of the maker. We also don't employ people to build these things who don't have an understanding of what they're doing. Quite often we're building all our amps ourselves, and so they're being built by someone who understands exactly what they're building and why. And we strongly believe that this results in a better quality product, which means it's something you can use for a long time, and you won't have to modify, you won't have to replace, you'll get to enjoy making music with for a very long time. So even though our approach means that our amplifiers need to cost a little bit more at the beginning, they're worth it in the long run, because you don't end up replacing them every few years. You get to enjoy them for a good long time. And that is the whole idea. They help you make music, and that makes the world a better place, if that's not too out there. Anyway, apologies for the crude camera work and the impromptu video, but we're just so pleased with the Solitaire. We think it's a great solution for a lot of playing situations where you're just not allowed to bring a big amp. You get the big amp sound for any kind of instrument. It's not just for guitar. People have done vocals through this and been just so pleased with that harmonic nature that you get from vacuum tubes. It's just irreplaceable. People try to simulate it with DSP. Some have been successful, some less so. We believe in just being purist and sticking with vacuum tube designs, but making them as versatile, compact, reliable, and quiet as we possibly can. Anyway, this is the Auburn Solitaire. You can find it on auburnamps.com, as well as the other things we make. So thanks very much for watching, and I hope you have yourself a day full of music. Bye-bye.